Good afternoon. How are you? Or is gone out of the window? Looks like you're still here. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, we will make a pact, right? You will not look at your mobile phones, and I promise I'll do my best not to use swear words. It's a good compromise, right? Because I'm kind of famous for that. It goes beyond my possibility to control it. I'm sorry, please. Pretend it's Ramadan and forgive me. So I spent the first part of my life in the advertising industry. I started in JWT. I didn't know Assad. We started in the same company. Then moved to McCann, then moved to Publicis as regional CEO, then moved to Google. Learned a lot. I've always been interested in the future and very bored by the past. So I always try to move my level of interest bar. And this is why also I made into the beta closed Midjourney app, and I started right from the beginning to use it, and I was blown away. I was like, I've never seen anything like this since I'm alive. Best time to be in the creative industry ever. Midjourney has become for me a friend, a colleague, a creative partner, and I'm pretty much doing the same with Runway, text to video, and I'm pretty sure there will be 20 more apps that I will be using moving forward. So my title is a provocation. It is not. Can humans be as creative as machines? I do deeply believe in this sentence. I'm not here to provoke you. I'm here to tell you that machines can be amazingly creative. And to prove the point, which I hope by the end of my presentation you will all agree with, is explain a bit how a creative mind works, because we make a lot of fuss about creativity, and it's always cool to show cool case studies and to clap ourselves and pat on our backs, how great is human being, how great we are creative, but machines can mimic and adopt and become creative more than human beings. So let's go together on this ride. First of all, the boring premises. We need to define words, because we are starting to get into a world where definitions become fluffy and fuzzy and hazy. So let's put this right in context. What is creativity? As of today, I haven't found a better definition than the first 3 lines of this sentence. The other 2 are mine. The first 3 lines says, creativity is connecting already existing elements in a new and useful way. This is creativity. The connection of elements that apparently are not logically related. That's the Poincaré in Paris, 1920, a mathematician, gave this definition. And I still deeply believe this is the best definition ever. I just added tuning in the universal flow of stimuli, which is where we get these elements from, and through individual resonators. I deeply believe creative people are antennas. We just receive subtle signals from all that comes around us, and we reproject those signals in an interesting way. So this is, for me, what creativity really is. What is art? Because, again, we are talking about art and advertising. There is a big difference between the two things. So art is a Weltanschauung expressed through conscious skills, creative imagination, that stirs the senses, has emotional value, and displaces us. This is what art is supposed to do. Weltanschauung is a vision of the world. Every artist is projecting his vision of the world that is around him. And thus, that through the senses, basically. Input comes through the senses, and output goes through the senses again. So what is an artist? He's a creative outsider, still an outsider pretty much, who uses his or her or their, depending which pronouns you want to be called with, to experience dimensions and vision to survive without conforming. I heard a question today, which was like, the whole of our lives, we have been taught to conform. So how come you can all of a sudden not conform? This is what an artist is. An outsider that finds a way to live within society, and it's a mutual exchange. You tolerate me, I give you something that you wouldn't be able to get without me. Now, advertising is an entirely different story. It's a marketing function that gets expressed through industry-related and creative skills, that gets noticed, has commercial value, and engages consumers. So a part of that is creativity and art. Another part of that is very rational thinking that gets the job done and brings results. And what is an art director? An art director is just a synonym for every creative. The art director is a creative conformist. This is not an insult. This is the reality of the industry. An art director or a creative in an advertising industry has to conform, otherwise will not be accepted. And conforming means has to understand the brief, has to deliver on the brief, has to convince the client. It's not just a leap of faith. So, why can machines be even more creative than humans? This has a lot to do of how the brain of a creative works. And let me tell you, the process that we do is a bit like turning smog into rainbows. We get a lot of noise, static noise, a lot of things that would not be interested if communicated. We turn that into something that stops people in their tracks and makes them think or feel, elicit a response, right? So this is what the creative process is. But it is a bit more refined than that. So first there is a download of information. I'm talking about commercial creativity here. So first there is a download of information. This goes through ego, rational mind, consciousness. I need to understand the problem I'm trying to solve creatively. So as many information as I can, I put them in my system. But the real ideation process doesn't happen rationally. It happens at the subconscious level. Through all my career, the best ideas I had and I have approved and I have seen were ideas that seemed to materialize completely out of the blue. The moment before, the idea is not there. The moment after, the idea is there, almost perfectly formed. This is not magic or coincidence or fate. It is because our subconscious has done all the process. We just didn't realize because we were above the consciousness threshold. But this is what really happens with real creativity, and this is where commercial creativity and art really are the same, one and the same. That process happens in your subconscious. And then, of course, it goes out and you rationalize and you start to compromise and you have to explain to the world why that idea is so good. Because it's good. But it's not because you are some kind of lunatic. It's because you train the whole of your life to make your subconscious work at the best possible level. So it's a bit like this. This is what I called the creative operative system. And this is why machines can be incredibly good at that. Because what we do is we have our input interface. We put those elements of the definition of creativity in, right? So what are those elements? Everything that comes through our senses. Something that we see, something that we touch, something that we taste, that we smell, that we hear. Our senses are exactly elements, input generators for us. Then we process those inputs through what I call algorithms. Space, time, memory, emotions, synesthesia, you name them. I have this element, an elephant. Why I have this element in my system? I process through space and time because it was a visit at the zoo, maybe, when I was a kid. But as stuck in the subconscious is coming back through emotion because I felt that was incredibly sad. And now I'm working on sadness. So this is how our subconscious mind processes inputs. And then it goes through the real operating system, which is ego, superego, ID, it. Subconscious, conscious, superego is our hypercritical, ethically, morally bounded version of ourselves. And then what happens is that I apply some programs to this idea that is in process. And this has a lot to do with talent, craft, knowledge, technique, an app, right? Or even models. Some creative ideas are standard, magnification, comparison, what if. There is so many idea models, actually someone cataloged 52 of them that you can see over and over in advertising, right? So I apply these apps, and then the result goes back in the world in a story. And this is something that, again, can include sensory outputs. The same way I got inputs, now it gets into an output. And this is how the whole creative process gets done by individual. So, the elephant in the room, how many creative jobs are at risk? Because if a machine can be creative, this means a lot of people will have to face a competition, which in my mind is an unfair competition, because as a person, if what I said is true, and I hope you believe it is true, a machine can gather so many more inputs that a single human being can get the whole of his life. A machine can know all the painters, all the photographers, all the directors, all the architects, all the artists of the world. I am limited by space and time, and neurons, and memory. There is a limit to human that machine can transcend very easily. So that's why machines can be extremely creative, and therefore, many jobs are at risk. More will be created, but not as much as the ones that will be lost. Personal opinion. So let's take a look at what is commercial creativity. If I look at Cannes Lions, and I'm humbled by the presence of Ali here, that is a lion hunter by trade, by talent, and by results, right? When we look at Cannes Lions, we have the absolute best of the creative industry. I took some numbers. The 2023 edition of the Cannes Lions saw almost 27,000 entries, which is an increase towards the previous year, also because previous year was a COVID year. But anyway, it was a 6% year-on-year increase. And then we have seen 852 Lions awarded, which makes it for 3% of the entries, definitely more than I remember. The last time I entered Cannes, it was 1% chance of winning. Now it's become a bit higher. And AI was referenced in 8.3% of those jobs, so already very present at Cannes last year, of course. But now, if you agree with me, this is one of the things as a creative, I try to be very objective. I never bought into the whole Cannes thing. Why? Because it's the tip of the tip of the tip of the tip of an iceberg. Because in reality, in real life, when I look at the advertising that is out there, as a consequence, 99.5%, yeah, thank you for agreeing. It's an unpopular opinion. But 99.5% of advertising is shit. It's patronizing, it's annoying, is patriarchal, is badly done, is uninspiring, is horrible. This is why people hate advertising. It's not because they hate ideas or great stories, it's the opposite. It's because the vast majority of advertising is shit. Polish shit because you spent a lot of money on that. Still shit. So what can happen? And I consulted on a couple of CEOs I know. I asked them, I have a question for you. How many employees a typical network office has? How many of them are creatives? How many of them are ECDs or CDs, creative directors? How many campaigns a year you think are Cannes worthy? And how many of these campaigns are fake? Another reality, because when I go to Cannes, as much as I'm incredibly elated by real campaigns that I've seen in real life, I'm pissed off by campaigns that no one has ever seen, but win lions just because you have to win lions and blah, blah, blah. And it gave me these numbers. They all agree on these kind of numbers. So if an agency has 60 creatives and 12 of them are creative directors, how many of these jobs are at risk? I can already tell you a lot of photographers will lose their job, a lot of illustrators will lose their job, a lot of designers will lose their job. So the more you go down the ladder, the easier it will be for people to lose their job because of AI. You're still safe at the top of the ladder because your experience, your trade, your craft still makes you a very valuable resource. But the more you go down, the more you're at risk. And I've tried to prove this. Again, this was just a conversation with a friend of mine. And I was like, look, dude, he's on a creative agency. I say, AI is going to fuck you, I'm sorry. I says, no, we're still years away. And I says, no, I'm going to prove it to you. So I asked him again, what's your typical turnaround for a TVC? And I'm not talking about can-worth TVC. I'm talking about the normal TVC that constitutes bread and butter for an agency. And he told me, well, depending on the importance of the client, there could be 6 to 8 people working on it, probably a copywriter and a director, a creative director, a client service director, a client service executive, and so forth, and a planner, and so forth. 6 to 8 people. The turnaround time would be 2-4 weeks on average, and there will probably be someone outsourced talent, like a storyboard artist or something like that, to craft the storyboard. Do you think this is realistic? More or less. Show of hands, whoever thinks, yes, this is kinda what it is. No? No one believes it? You do, great. Because I don't want to bullshit you with fake statistics. So what I did was, okay, I'm a creative director, I'm an ECD. I want to work with ChatGPT as a copywriter, Midjourney as an art director, and if I need, Runway as a video editor. Now, ChatGPT, be very careful. The guy's a bullshitter, pretends. It says a lot of fake things. It fakes data, it fakes references. Don't take ChatGPT at face value. But being a bullshitter was perfect for creativity, so I hired ChatGPT guy. And I work with them, which means I put my experience, my creativity in briefing them and judging what was coming out of them and bouncing back. I created a fake brief, I executed on it. I'm not going to show you the campaign. I showed industry people the storyboard and the script, and they told me, this is good. And I told them, yeah, it's not me. It's those AI guys I hired. And what is more surprising is the turnaround time. So it took me one headcount, myself, 1 hour to get the script with ChatGPT, going back and forth and asking changes and modifying it. 1 hour to get the images, just because I'm a perfectionist, I wanted the images to be very good, but it can be done in less than that. And the most time was spent, because I'm not good at that, to do the actual storyboard. Copy, pasting, it's what, 3.5, 4 hours to go from brief to storyboard. Was it the best campaign you will ever see? No. Was it better than that 99.5% of polished shit? Yes. I can tell you this as an ECD. So that kind of creates a bit of a topic for a discussion. Do we need that many copy writers and art directors to do more and better job? What is the way forward? And what are the implications for, are you still with me? Is it boring? I use too many swear words. Couple. Still doable. Thank you. What are the implications for brands? Now, what is storytelling, which is a fundamental skill of human beings, is survival codified. Storytelling is survival codified. We invented stories to keep people safe in the prehistorical times to tell them, look, there is a tiger over there. If you go over there, that tiger will eat you. And basically, we created a story so the tribe will know that there is a danger out there and you don't have to go out there. Brand storytelling is no different. It's a weapon to survive existential threats for the brands. Now, if you look at what has happened in the recent years, I was lucky enough in my lifetime to get to two big inflection points in advertising. The first one was when digital happened, when the World Wide Web happened. That turned people immediately from passive human beings to active human beings. Because all of a sudden I can go everywhere, but I need to decide where to go. I need to type in a web address, right? And I need to click and make choices. That activates me. Before that, it was passive media, passive consumption, passive human beings. A lot easier to do your job. Advertising in the passive years was easy. You reach your frequency, it will stuck in their memory, they will go and buy the product. Try that today, good luck. So the World Wide Web was the first big inflection point, and that immediately created a completely different playing fields. Digital natives started to appear, analog natives. It's easy. Analog natives are gonna die. It's just a law of nature. When you reach your age, you die. So one day, everyone will be a digital native. We are almost getting there, but it's a clear tendency. So what happens? If in this context, you keep doing the same things you have done forever, you get at best into stagnation. Even worse if you don't evolve, right? So you have to evolve if you want to keep your P&L safe. Now we are at the next inflection point, artificial intelligence, amazing. What will happen now? How are we going to deal as advertisers, as users, as industry leaders with this new thing? Is it hiding your head in the sand the right approach? No. Is it still believing that humans are amazing and no one can beat us because we are so great at inventing things? And no. Facing reality, yes. Embracing reality, even better. Pioneering reality, the right way to do it. I'm not going to go through this slide because it takes half an hour just to go through it, but this is what happened when those two inflection points happen. You want to take a picture, take it, and you can think, am I on the left? Am I in the middle? Am I on the right? How many items do I check on the left? How many of them do I check in the middle? How many of them do I check in the right? You will get your answer if you're old school or if you're not. So users today, I don't like to call them customers or consumers. I like to call us, ourselves, users, live in multiple timelines. We are no more time-bound, place-bound, media-bound, and dimensions, therefore. The distances between brands and users are stretching. Many brands are already losing touch with younger consumers. They just realize it too late. Brands have to face this dawn of multi-dimensional challenges, and we'll have to consider generative comm choices as existential. Is one way to solve the problem. Is it the only one? Maybe not. Is it the best one? Probably yes. So we need to take into account, also because I've never seen such an acceleration. The last inflection point took us so decades. This one is taking years. From the beta closed Midjourney I joined to Midjourney 5.2 we have now, in 1 year, blew my mind. Runway is going to do the same. I'm pretty sure 2 years from now, I will be here presenting my TV series done entirely with Runway, Midjourney, and so forth. So there is no time to lose on that. Now, if I can give an advice, which I'm not going to give to brand managers, they're smarter than that, I can give an advice to creative people. So if you don't know these words, it's a sign that you don't work yet with generative AI like Midjourney. The art of prompting, which is a craft and an art, requires you to know what you want to get exactly. Otherwise, you will get the exam say shit like everyone else prompting, "Oh, Star Wars in the style of Wes Anderson." Stop it, right? That's what the normal average Joe does. A professional knows better. A professional can evoke every single creative personality that has lived on Earth, combine them, and fuse them in a very new and interesting way. So if you as an art director, what kind of art director are you if you're not an expert of art? It's in your job description. If you don't know the history of art, we gradually lost that over time. We went from artists doing advertising to art experts doing advertising to people that don't know about art but learned how to do advertising. We need to go back to our roots and upskill for AI. Master your craft, not by outsourcing to someone else's talent, the execution. Bring it back in your domain as a creative. So learn all the history that brought you there, that gave you that immense power of creating brand stories, and start to bring it back to yourself as an owner. That will make you indispensable. That will make you not a sacrifice on the altar of the trade, right? Last slide of my presentation, I hope it wasn't too long or too boring, is this one. When anyone can get any answer, which is what you can have with generative AI, the only currency is asking the right questions. That will take you through the next era of advertising and will ideally make us survive, thrive, and be slightly happier and slightly less worried as we are today. Thank you so much.